My mom's the HOA president, dude. This cabin's ours now. That was the first thing out of this kid's mouth. The kind of sentence that makes you wonder if you're still asleep, or maybe someone's hidden a camera and you're about to go viral for being the world's most patient neighbor. There he stood, not even 17, designer hoodie, vape tucked behind his ear like a half-baked rebellion, mirrored sunglasses catching the morning sun off the lake. He talked like he'd never had to hear the word no, like rules were something other people followed. And me? I just stood there, coffee mug warm in my hand, staring at this kid strutting around my dock like he just won in a poker game. Birds were still singing, lake was like glass, and yet, you know that hush right before a summer storm? That's what it felt like, except the thunder was already rumbling behind my ribs. Let me back up. Name's Brian Nelson. What that kid didn't know, what nobody here at Crystal Pines seemed to realize, was that I wasn't just some random homeowner. I'm the chief of police in this county. And after 20 years of break-ins, drug busts, and small-town drama, I bought this cabin for peace and quiet. Thought maybe, just maybe, the world could let me rest. But you want to know a secret? Peace is fragile as a soap bubble, and nothing pops it faster than an HOA convinced it owns the world. I smiled at the kid, the slow kind that makes trouble think twice. Kid, you just tried to annex the wrong man's property. But hey, before things get messy, how about you tell me where you're watching from, what time it is, and hit subscribe? You're about to see what happens when the law meets the HOA. By the time the kid swaggered back up the drive, I already knew what I was up against. See, that flavor of arrogance, it's inherited. Somebody has to water it, prune it, show it off. And in this case, that someone was his mother, Grace Moore. Around here, Grace was more than a name. Pink blazer, pearls, SUV, so white it could blind you. She didn't just run the HOA, she was the HOA. 6 months ago, when I moved in, neighbors took me aside. Watch out for Mrs. Moore, they warned. She means well until she doesn't. I laughed it off. I mean, how bad could it be? I'd seen egos on the job, watched power trip after power trip. But I'd never met anyone who could turn picket fences and bylaws into weapons the way Grace did. First sign was 2 weeks after I bought the place. A letter, gold logo, fonts fancier than a wedding invitation. Notice of property noncompliance. Apparently, my cedar brown paint wasn't in the HOA's approved palette. Please repaint to lake sand, pebble mist, or tranquil taupe. I thought it was a joke. Called the office. The woman on the phone whispered, "Tell Mrs. Moore you called," like I'd threatened national security. An hour later, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Mr. Nelson," said the voice, smooth, crisp, every inch in control. "This is Grace Moore, president of the Crystal Pines Homeowners Association. I see you've received our letter." I replied, calm as ever, "And I see my property lies outside your HOA lines. Bought it that way on purpose." There was a pause, then a little laugh, cold as February. "Oh, I think you'll find the HOA lines were updated last year. We recently integrated the lakeside properties for community improvement." That phrase, community improvement, it's what every little tyrant hides behind, isn't it? I told her I'd look into it and hung up. Over the next few months, I watched Grace's empire at work. She fined retirees for hanging wind chimes, threatened a single mom over a yard gnome, banned outdoor grills, then hosted a barbecue on her own lawn. Everybody went along, and why? Because she ran it all, committees, newsletters, even who got to serve on the HOA board. She could charm you at the meeting, then bankrupt you with a single vote. So when her son, Ethan, declared my cabin HOA property, I knew this wasn't teenage stupidity, it was the family business. 3 days after the conquest, I get an email, "Community Event Access Request Approved by HOA." Apparently, the HOA would be using my cabin for a youth graduation party, complete with the HOA seal, signatures, and a note. "Please ensure the property is unlocked by Friday, 5 p.m., like it was already theirs." That night, I drove into town. Didn't flash the badge. Just asked the records clerk for a zoning map. He flipped through the files, frowned, and said, "Your cabin's not part of that HOA, sir. Border ends at Ridge Creek Road." Exactly what I thought. "Then why are they sending you stuff?" he asked. I just smiled. Some people think authority grows like mold, quietly, everywhere. The next morning, phone rings. Grace Moore again, sweet as sugar over something brittle. Mr. Nelson, just confirming you got the event notice. I have, I replied. And I'm calling to confirm I won't be unlocking my property for anyone. Silence, then a chuckle. Oh, you must not understand how these things work. The HOA has communal rights under revised ordinances. This cabin falls under shared use. Funny, I said, because county records say your authority ends half a mile east of my dock. Her tone turned sharp. You may want to rethink your tone, Mr. Nelson. We can issue fines, revoke access, ma'am, I interrupted. You can't revoke what was never yours. The silence that followed, well, that was just beautiful. But I knew this wasn't over. So instead of arguing, I watched. Installed cameras, small, discreet, motion-triggered. Made copies of my deed, laminated them. Then started poking through the HOA's finances. You'd be amazed how many people treat HOA budgets like piggy banks. Didn't take long before I found it. Community Youth Engagement Initiative, $12,000. I asked around. No one had ever heard of the program. $12,000. Vanished. No receipts. 2 days later, Grace herself pulled into my driveway, pearls jangling, clipboard like a scepter. Ethan was behind her, grinning like a prince. Mr. Nelson, she began, just wanted to ensure we're on the same page. Graduation celebration will proceed as planned. I sipped my coffee. On my property? On community property, she corrected, chin up. HOA's already allocated funds for cleanup. I smiled. For which account? The one used for your youth engagement initiative? Her smile faltered. Excuse me? Nothing. Just curious where the money goes these days. For the first time, she looked rattled. She fidgeted, muttered about improving morale, and left in a hurry. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, she called over her shoulder. Trust me, I said. You're the one making it harder. When she drove off, the sun glinted off the lake, like it was winking at me. She wanted a party? She'd get one, just not the kind she expected. That night, I called Rodriguez, old friend at the sheriff's office. Might need a few off-duty units at Crystal Pines this weekend. Possible trespass, underage drinking, the usual. He laughed. You finally poking the HOA bear? Not yet, I said, just setting the table. By Wednesday, the stillness in Crystal Pines felt like the moment before lightning hits. My motion camera pinged my phone. There's Ethan and 2 friends, bold as brass, filming themselves on my dock. Drone buzzing overhead. Laughter. One kid grabs my father's fishing hat, poses for a selfie. Caption: Lake Life HOA party thanks, Mom. I clenched my jaw, but didn't move. Anger's easy. Proof is better. By noon, another delivery. 3 folding beer pong tables shipped to my address. Tracked the driver down. He told me Mrs. Moore had called to confirm. That evening, I called my attorney, Jim Wallace. He'd seen more HOA drama than divorce cases. After I explained, he just sighed. Classic overreach. HOAs assume if nobody pushes back, their word becomes law. Not pushing yet, I replied. Just documenting. He laughed. Same patient son of a gun from the land fraud case. Patience builds leverage. Just don't wait too long, he warned. They love to rewrite rules while you're still reading them. Next day, HOA newsletter in full color. Upcoming community event. Youth graduation celebration at Lakeside Cabin, courtesy of HOA partnership with local residents. Special thanks to supportive homeowners. Underneath, a photo of my cabin, my deck, my boat. I counted to 20, then just started laughing. This wasn't arrogance, it was delusion. Friday ticked closer. I checked camera angles, swapped SD cards, printed timestamps. Then, out of curiosity, I compared the HOA bylaws on file with the one Grace sent me. There it was, one little line under Section 5. The association may temporarily use any community-adjacent property for approved activities. Community-adjacent, a term that meant absolutely nothing in zoning law. She'd written herself permission to invade. Thursday evening, the truck started rolling in. Teens unloading beer, speakers, lights. When one noticed the private property sign, he laughed. Mrs. Moore said, "Ignore that." I stepped out. "Evening, boys. You're early for tomorrow's arrest." They froze, left in a hurry. I set another camera on the driveway. That night, Grace tried my door handle, caught on camera. He'll regret this, she muttered to herself. 3 charges. 1 clip. Friday, 5:47 p.m., the parade begins. Cars everywhere. Music, teenagers flooding my lawn, Ethan at the helm wearing my father's hat. Mom said it's fine, he shouted. I watched from inside, patient as a trap. They clipped my lock, dragged beer coolers across my grass, set up speakers. Grace rolled in at sunset, pink blazer, high heels, champagne flute in hand. Welcome everyone, she yelled. The HOA is proud to sponsor this event for our amazing youth. A few nervous parents pretended to belong. She spotted me. Mr. Nelson, thank you for letting us use your beautiful property. I raised my phone. Don't worry, I'm recording every word. Her smile twitched. Oh, lighten up. It's for the kids. Then maybe host it on your lawn, I replied. She sipped her drink. We're all part of the same community. Not legally, I shot back. By 9 p.m., the dock shook with music. Teens tossed cans in the water. Someone set off fireworks. My cameras caught it all. I stayed on my porch, silent. When a drunk teenager puked by my grill, I made a note. 9:42 p.m. Ethan stood on a cooler, shouting, "This is our lake now. HOA rules, baby." Friends cheered. Grace laughed. That's when my phone buzzed. "Sheriff's units in position," said Rodriguez. "You want the lights?" "Not yet," I said. "Give them 15 more minutes. Let the queen crown herself." 15 minutes later, Grace stomped up to my porch, clearly tipsy. "Mr. Nelson, I must insist you stop filming. This is community property tonight." "You sure?" I asked. "Because the county assessor says this address is 100% mine." She blinked, confused, then hissed, "Don't make me call the police." I smiled. "Ma'am, that's the best idea you've had all night." Went inside, threw on my navy jacket, clipped the badge. Opened the door. The crowd froze. Grace's champagne glass slipped, shattered on my porch. Ethan's mouth hung open. "Everyone here is trespassing on private property. Anyone under 21 with alcohol, step aside. The rest, prepare to be ID'd." Ethan stammered, "Dad, what?" "I'm not your dad, son. I'm the chief of police." For a second, nobody breathed. Then sirens wailed, blue and red washing over the night. Grace whispered, "Oh, dear God." The first 2 deputies, Rodriguez and Carter, moved in quietly, flashlights illuminating beer cans, broken bottles, a deflated swan. "Chief," Rodriguez nodded. "Deputy," I replied. Ethan stumbled forward. "Wait, you're a cop?" "Chief of police," I corrected. "And you're about to have a very educational night." Grace snapped. "Brian Nelson, this is abuse of power." "You mean the same children drinking stolen alcohol and destroying my property?" "This is a misunderstanding. You are the HOA, Grace. You authorize yourself to break in, vandalize, and throw a party with community money. That's not a misunderstanding. That's fraud." She threatened to sue me. I smiled. "You're welcome to, after booking." Deputy Carter handed me an invoice pulled from the catering truck, $3,218.64, paid via HOA account. Grace's face cracked. "That's just a community expense." "Sure," I said, "under your engagement program, right?" Her hand shook. "You can't prove." I played back the footage of her trying my doorknob, muttering threats. Ethan tried to bolt. Rodriguez caught him halfway down the path. "Easy, kid," he said. "We're not cuffing you yet." "But Mom said, son, that's not how the law works." I approached Ethan, calm but firm. "You're being detained for trespassing, property damage, and minor in possession. You can't arrest me. My mom's in charge here." "He needs to learn accountability," I told Grace. "And so do you." By the time backup arrived, the music was gone. The crowd split between crying, texting, and pretending not to care. Grace paced, muttering rage. "You set me up," she accused. "I wanted proof. You gave me plenty. You're using your badge to settle personal vendettas." I smiled. "Funny. I thought you'd be grateful someone finally enforced the law." That night, as environmental teams checked the dock, fuel containers, fireworks, chaos, I realized how close she'd come to burning down the whole shoreline. Congratulations, I told Grace. You almost made the evening news for a lake fire. Her final desperate move. I'll call the mayor. He's on my HOA board. Already did, I said. He's on his way, with a warrant. That's when Linda Hayes arrived, county investigator. Been tracing HOA funds since her tip last week, she told me, as her team started pulling boxes from Grace's SUV. Receipts, folders, laptop. Grace screamed about harassment. Hayes smiled, no ma'am. This is a search warrant. As they read Grace her rights, she stared at me, wide-eyed. You'll regret this. You think you've won. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I looked past her, out to the lake glowing red and blue. Oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. And for once, so do you. By sunrise, every porch light in Crystal Pines was on. Grace's mugshots circled the neighborhood faster than gossip at a potluck. HOA Rule 47. Don't commit fraud in front of the chief of police. Half outrage, half delight. The tyrant had fallen. Still, the law doesn't end when the lights go out. At the station, paperwork stacked up, coffee grew cold. We've got 8 minors with alcohol, 3 parents claiming Grace said it was allowed, and 1 caterer wanting payment, Rodriguez reported. Turns out Grace's account was already frozen. Add theft by deception to the list, I muttered. By noon, Mayor Peters called, all nerves and backpedal. Grace says this is political. It's criminal, I corrected. She can explain to a jury why her leadership involved forged invoices and stolen property. He sighed. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Maybe just a little. That afternoon, cameras circled like vultures. Did you set up the HOA president? A reporter shouted. No, I replied. I just let the truth walk into my jurisdiction. The fallout was beautiful and messy. The board turned on each other, documents shredded, secrets spilling. Hayes confirmed more than $48,000 funneled into Grace's account over 3 years. Spa trips, home remodels, handbags. She hadn't just broken the law. She'd broken everyone's trust. That night, my phone rang. Grace, you don't understand what it's like keeping this neighborhood in order, she slurred. Landscaping, complaints, parties. You mean the embezzlement, threats, fake zoning? You sound just like my husband. He left last night, tired of cleaning up my messes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You could have just asked for help, Grace, instead of controlling everyone. I built this place. I am Crystal Pines. No, you just forgot it wasn't yours to own. By Monday, charges were filed. Grace showed up in court in navy, not pink, her confidence gone. Her lawyer tried everything. Misconduct, entrapment. The judge wasn't impressed. I testified, timeline, footage, records. When her lawyer saw the proof of forged signatures, he stopped objecting. He knew it was over. After the hearing, residents waited outside. Some clapped, some just looked relieved. One old man shook my hand. Thank you. She fined me $200 for a trash bin. I thought nobody could stop her. I smiled. Everyone stops eventually. The board met that night, without Grace. Voted to strip her title, freeze her accounts. The Queen was now just another name on the docket. 2 weeks later, I met Hayes at the courthouse. She handed me a folder thick with evidence. She forged 3 signatures. Enough for multiple felonies. Let her blame me, I replied. That's one accusation I can live with. That night, I walked to the lake hat in hand. The air smelled of rain. The water shimmered in the moonlight. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace, not just silence, but closure. Rodriguez pulled up. You did it, he said. HOA's finally clean. Yeah, I smiled, but I didn't do it for them.